The question I had, back to the roads and how they get decision, my recollection on last meeting was, and I don't forget the name of the road, it was Anger or Auger or whatever it was. Anger Road, that it was tabled. And in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I believe there was a special meeting held to approve funds for that improvement.
Yes, there was.
And there's 2 questions. One is, not only was it approved, but it seemed to be that the approach to fixing that road was changed. So it was actually not the same design that was discussed in the prior meeting. And 2, in relation to Coleman, they've been here for at least 5 or 6 months, why wouldn't the same reaction be done at the Coleman Road instead of every time there's a question, there's another issue to go through? So I'm curious to how that special meeting got called.
Anger Road.
Let me finish.
Go ahead, Mike.
My understanding is that would have to be called only for special occasions, which at this point, that table should have been addressed in this meeting right now.
Well, Anger Road has been on the radar here for a couple of years now. Right.
So is Coleman.
Well, wait a second, let me finish, okay? It was all talked about whenever they were going to do the overlook, and the reason the road was found out that we could do it, Dan had sat on.
What's an overlook?
The overlook, that's the development at the top of Anger Road. Okay. The overlook was going to do the other half of it, or 3/4 of it, we were going to do this part of it. It's been on there to try to get it done at the same time. And whenever Dan came forward with us and Joe Seitz and showed us that we could do it for a little bit cheaper, and that if we waited, we would have to spend $7,000 more if they left. That's
Yeah, but my
we decided
understanding that a little bit
to
cheaper was a modification of the drainage. Is that not right?
Well, there was modification on it, and at that meeting, that's when Dan explained what he felt, that it was adequate for what was up there.
But my point is, you executed that in a special meeting that no one
It
was
was a
able
public
to.
meeting, it was advertised, Mike.
The day before.
Yep.
But it was at 10 o'clock in the morning. Did anybody here from Coleman Road know that?
No.
Was anybody invited? My point is, you seem to be able to react very well when you want to, but when people are here talking about something that seems to be critical, and it has been an issue for more than even this year.
Mike, can I interrupt you for 2 seconds?
Sure.
We keep wanting to compare Anger Road to Coleman Road, like because we did Anger or Coleman's off the
No, no,
top. Wait,
that's
let me
not what I
finish.
want to compare.
Listened, but that's what you're saying. Like because we voted on Anger, we're not going to do Coleman. That's not the case at all.
That's the problem. Now, let me interrupt you for a second. That's not the issue. The issue is that the project that was discussed in the last meeting was not the project you approved in a special meeting 2 weeks later when nobody, because I know there was modifications to the drainage.
We discussed it at the township meeting last month,
But that was tabled.
it was tabled, but it
No,
was.
it wasn't tabled, it was voted on.
No,
It
no,
was a tie.
it was a tie. And we had presented the modified drainage plan at that meeting.
At the August meeting.
That's correct. Thanks.
And after the meeting, you said, hold on, Ron, take the time for now.
Can I
And
say
you pulled a
something?
meeting, 9 o'clock on Thursday morning.
We'll go ahead and finish what you were saying.
Oh, let me finish.
It's weeks away.
Because I think it was 4 months ago when there was discussion concerning Coleman Road and the cost for that, there was always an issue of what quality of improvement was required. And there was never any discussions of changing any drainage and so forth. So I'm a little confused how you guys are flipping around.
Can I answer that really quick, Mike? We are not saying that because we did Anger Road, we are not going to do Coleman. Coleman Road is, wait, listen.
But I gotta tell you, there hasn't been anybody here saying they're doing anything.
I listen to you, can you listen?
No, because I got the speaker. No, you can't talk. You can say anything you want when I sit down. Because at this point in time, that project has been modified from what you guys were talking about a month ago, and it happens all the time. And it wasn't on the agenda.
Now, you know what, Mike, whenever we were first talking about Coleman Road, what were some of the first things that were discussed in that? And I'll tell you, it was drainage. Drainage was the very first thing that was discussed, along with shoring up the hill. I was one of the first ones that talked about, instead of cutting way back on the hillside, shoring up the downhill side of it, Mike.
When was the money approved for the latest project that we're talking about? When did you approve that money?
Which project?
The road that was approved 2 weeks ago. Anger?
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was approved
When were those funds allocated and approved?
that day.
Okay, when was it planned?
It's been planned for a few years, Mike, as soon as the overlook started going up there.
Then why was the drainage changed at that meeting?
Because it wasn't changed at
So,
that meeting. You're making
my
this
point is, it
It
was
changed
planning.
in August, Mike, it wasn't changed at that meeting. Dan
Yeah,
came to us in
it was.
August and
We
explained.
we came back with a report at last month's meeting and presented some value engineering to the project. We looked at the road again with Bill, we found out what the township could do. We're going to build Anger Road to the same
But
specification
Dan,
as
that's my question. When was the original project planned?
Anger Road has been contemplated for a number of years.
So last month, we decided to change it. We do value engineering and pass it within 2 weeks in a meeting in the middle of the morning. But the plan was changed, even though it was designed years ago.
No, it wasn't.
That's not good.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike. Next.
Barbara Hamilton, 307 Maple Ridge Drive. I just was curious as to whether the township is still holding bond money from Maple Leaf Homes, Lynn Foltz, for the final phase of our project. It appears to be abandoned at the end. There's some paving.
Is there still funds being held for that?
Yes,
Dan?
phase 6 has not been accepted yet, and there's money available.
Do you have any, has Mr. Foltz made any plans as to when
He is not approached it. The township requirement is that it be paved at 2 years, either 2 years or 75% of the completion of the units. So if he's 75% complete with the units up there, but he's been trying to wait to put the paving down to the very end because he doesn't want to mess it up with any other units that are going to be constructed. So.
Well, the last units were closed on a couple of months ago, and there's still a Ryan Homes trailer at the top of the hill, which I know that's a different issue, but it's on a piece of what my last understanding was, that there were going to be 6 parking spaces paved at the end, but it just looks like everything's been abandoned, and I would think we're getting to the point where plans would have to be made soon before the weather changes, or that's going to be abandoned until next year.
Well, and that's a possibility, but we can check in with the developer to see what his plans are. We'll find out.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
And thank you all for your service, particularly the police department. You're very vigilant in our neighborhood. Thank you.